Hello students, in today's lecture we will discuss about the energy resource through various diagrams in this presentation. So here we start with the energy resources. Till the previous lecture we have completed all four type of resources, that is the land resource, the forest resource, the water resource and the energy resource. So among all the four resources we have studied individually the importance of each and every course. And by studying all those four resources, we come to the conclusion that some of the resources, those were renewable resources, and some of the resources, those were non-renewable resources. Then we have studied the resources which are recyclable resources and non-recyclable resources. And then we have discussed that there is a need to find some alternate sources of energy. And in the last topic of the natural resources, we have discussed about the case studies in which we have discussed one of the important case study, that is the Kaveri Jal Vivad or Kaveri water conflict. So here we will discuss the energy resources. So what are the learning objectives behind studying the natural resources? So first is to understand and that energy resources are a type of natural resource. To understand the difference between the non-renewable and renewable resources. To be able to describe examples of non-renewable and renewable resources and discuss some of the positive and negative impact of using these natural, renewable and non-renewable resources. To understand the basics of how energy sources are used to produce heat and energy. To understand that appliances in the home use energy. To understand that recycling product is a way of saving energy. So these are the following objectives in which, first of all, we have to understand the energy resources, that why these resources are called as energy resources. And these energy resources are a type of natural resources which are provided to us by nature in a natural manner. Second is to understand the difference between the non-renewable and renewable energy resources. So after getting the concept clear of the energy resources, there is a need of clear differentiation between the resources which are renewable, the resources which are non-renewable. And if the resources they are renewable, why we are calling them as renewable? And the resources which are non-renewable, why we are calling them as a non-renewable? So from the previous lecture, we got to know that the resources which can be renewed in a natural manner are renewable resources, and the resources which cannot be renewed, which cannot be replenished over a short period of time, are known as non-renewable resources. Now, whenever we are studying the renewable and non-renewable resources, then there's a need to understood clearly that what are the examples of renewable resources and what are the examples of non-renewable resources. And there's a need to discuss the positive and the negative impact or the positivities and the negativities of these renewable and non-renewable resources. Like there are some benefits of using the renewable resources. There are some benefits of using the non-renewable resources. There are some negative impact of using the non-renewable resources. There are some negative impact of using the renewable resources. Then the next objective is to understanding the basic of how energy sources are used to produce heat and energy. That whenever we are using the energy sources, then how it is possible to produce heat from these resources, how it is feasible to produce energy from these resources, and what kind of the energy those are. Then to understand that appliances in the home use energy, that what are the particular appliances we use for various household purpose and what type of the energy we are using if we are using these home appliances. So whether it is feasible to use these appliances, whatever the energy we are using for the performance of these appliances, is it feasible, it is cost effective or not. And to understand that recycling product is a way of saving energy. And in the previous lecture, we have discussed 3 R's, that is reuse, recycle, and another one is the third R of these 3 R's. Now, the natural resources. Natural substances required by humans for different needs like crops, then forest, then land, then water. There are various type of natural substances which are used by human beings for fulfilling their different day-to-day needs. Over here you can see 5 different type of natural substances or natural resources. The first one is crops. The second one is the rainforest or other type of forest also. The third you can see is water. The next you can see the coal, oil and gases. Then the fifth one is the forest. Natural resources are any kind of natural substance which is required or desired by humans. Different natural resources occur in different countries and regions and are spread equally. As a result, the countries trade their natural resources to ensure that their need can be met. So, natural resources can be any kind of natural substance which is present in the nature and which is required by each and every human being or which is the desire of every human being for performing various activities of day-to-day life. Different natural resources occur in different countries. So it is not mandatory that the particular natural resource is occur everywhere. There should be a particular locality, there should be a particular country which is rich for the particular type of natural resource. and are not are spread equally. And these natural resources, of course, they are provided to us by the nature. So it is not sure that these resources are spread equally everywhere or in every region. They should be restricted to particular region, they should be restricted to particular country. Might be they can be very less in quantity in one country, and might be they can be in a abundant, they can be in the bounty in the other countries or the region. So as a result, the country trade their natural resources to ensure that their need can be met. So the countries which are rich for the particular type of resource, and these countries trade their natural resources just to ensure that their needs can be met whenever they are required. Now, some examples of natural resources discuss why they are important. Example, minerals and metals like iron, gold, copper, silicon are used as building material. And in technology such as computers, phones, and cars, forest and rainforest are used for the purpose of timber wood. Various good quality of timber woods are obtained from these forests, and medicines as well as being important habitats for thousands of species of animals. Plants and fungi, crops like wheat, vegetables, and fruits are grown for food. Water is used for the drinking purpose, washing, and generating energy. Animals such as fish are caught for eating. The fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas are burned for energy. So, here are many examples of natural resources, right? Like minerals and metals, like iron, gold, copper, silicon, are used as building materials. So, these are the various natural resources which are provided to us by the nature, and these are used for the building materials in technology, for computers, for mobile phones, for cars. Then the application of forest resources. The forest and the rainforest are used for the timber wood, for various food, for various medicines, because the maximum medicines they were prepared from the trees of the forest, as well as being important habitat for thousands of species of animal. As we are using the forest resources to the greater extent, they are also very important for maintaining the biodiversity, because we are not the only human being which are dependent on the forest. There are n number of species of animal. There are many animals, their natural habitats are in the forest. So they are dependent on the forest, and once they can be maintained in the forest, then only it is capable for us to maintain the biodiversity. Plants and fungi, crops like wheat, vegetables, and fruits are grown for food. So again, the forest resources, we grow various crops, we grow various fruits and vegetable for the food purpose. Now, water is another type of natural resource. We use water for drinking, washing, and generating energy. And animals such as fish are caught for eating. Fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas are burned for energy. So these are various kind of natural resources which are used by human being for different purpose. Now, non-renewable and renewable energy resources. So, what is a non-renewable energy resource? What is a renewable energy resource? Non-renewable energy resources are things like oil, natural gas, and coal. So, they cannot be easily replaced because they have taken millions of years to form. We are using them faster than they are being made. This means that one day they will not run out. So, renewable resources are the resource which cannot be renewed very easily or which cannot be renewed over a short period of time. So, examples of those non renewable resources are like oil, like natural gas, and coal. And they cannot be easily replaced because they have taken millions of years to form. So we cannot replace them very easily. We are using them faster than they are being made. So, as the name itself indicated, that non-renewable energy resources. So it is not very easy to renew them. And we are continuously exploiting those resources. So the rate of exploitation of resource is much faster than they are being made. This means that one day they will run out. Renewable energy resources like wind power, wave power, solar power, and biofuel can be easily replaced and will not be run out. So, renewable resources are the resource which can be renewed, which can be replenished very easily and over a very short period of time. So, the example of these resources are like wind power, wave power, solar power, and biofuel. And they can be easily replaced and will not run out. Energy resources are either renewable or non renewable. At present, in the UK, we use a mixture of non renewable and renewable energies. Non renewable energy resources are the things like oil, natural gas, and coal. They cannot be replaced because they have taken millions of years to form. A problem with non renewable energy resource is that we as a planet are using them up faster than they are being made. This means that one day they will run out. Then comes the renewable energy resources like wind power, wave power, solar power, and biofuel will not run out or can be easily replaced. So, economies are trying to move toward greater reliance on renewable energy resources. So, here with this slide, what we can get that non-renewable energy resources are nothing, but they are oil, natural gas, and coal. And since our childhood, we are studying that the formation of coal it takes many years. So it we are and nowadays for the economic growth we are totally depend on the coal for the development of the heat and energy. But they cannot be replaced. Once the coal is exhausted, it is not easy to replace because they have taken millions of years to form. A problem with non-renewable energy resource is that we have a planet and we as a planet are using them up faster than they are being made. This means that one day they will run out. Renewable energy resources like wind power, wave power, solar power, and biofuel will not run out or can be easily replaced. So, Economies are trying to move toward greater reliance on renewable energy sources. Now here you can see the non-renewable energy resources. In that, first you can see the natural gas. Second, you can see the oil and the petroleum. The third, you can see that is the coal. And fourth, that is nuclear power. Non-renewable energy resources include coal, gas, oil, and nuclear power. Coal, gas, and oil are sometimes known as fossil fuel because these are non-renewable and they include coal, gas, oil, and nuclear power. Coal, gas, and oil are sometimes known as fossil fuel. The fossil fuels are finite resources. They will not be around forever. They are no longer being made or are being made extremely slowly, so they cannot be easily replaced. Nuclear power is also considered a non renewable energy resource, although it is not traditionally grouped with the fossil fuels. There is only a certain amount of uranium in the earth that can be used to make nuclear power, so it is a finite resource. About three quarters of the electricity generated in the UK comes from power stations fueled by fossil fuels. Energy from burning fuel is used to boil water. The steam from the boiling water turns turbines and these power generation which generate electricity. Now what are the pros and cons for using various natural or non-natural resources? Now what are the pros and cons of using the fossil fuel? Fossil fuels and nuclear power are very efficient. This means that burning a small amount of oil, gas, or coal or reacting a small amount of uranium releases a lot of energy. Fossil fuels are convenient because they can be used whenever they don't rely on certain environment condition. Example, lots of wind. They can be transported easily. It is relatively cheap to generate electricity from burning fossil fuel. Fossil fuels are well established. Humans have been using fossil fuels for the past 200 years. So our towns and cities are built to make transporting and using fossil fuels easily. Now, what are the cons of using the fossil fuels? So, when anything is having the pros, then definitely it has some cons also. So, unfortunately, the use of fossil fuels releases large amount of carbon dioxide and other gases into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, meaning that it causes the atmosphere to become warmer and it's contributing to dangerous level of global warming and of course the climate change because once there is a global warming then obviously there is a change in the climate takes place. Fossil fuels are also release pollutants such as sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide which cause acid rain. Acid rain harms sensitive ecosystems such as lakes and forests. Methods used to assess fossil fuels such as mining and drilling for oil can harm the environment. Example, oil spills can devastate the marine wildlife. Non-renewable oil and gas formation. Earth's crude oil and natural gas is formed from marine plants and animals that died millions of years ago. The dead microscopic animals and the plant sinks to the bottom of the ocean and become buried with other sediments, sand and mud. Over millions of years, these sediments get buried deeper and deeper. The temperature and pressure rises and the microorganisms in the sediment are turned into gas and oil. Third, oil and gas move upward through tiny pores in the rock. Oil and gas get trapped under impermeable layer of rocks and can then be taken out using long powerful drills. Now comes the non-renewable oil and gas. The oil and gas burn to heat water. Steam propels turbine, and then there is a production of electricity. The crude oil is turned into jet engine oil, petrol, and diesel, which are used as fuel in planes and cars. When oil and gas are burned, they release carbon dioxide gas into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and contributes to global warming. Oil and gas can be burned to produce electricity. To do this, oil is burned in power plant to heat water and produce steam. This steam, which has kinetic energy, then propels the blades of turbine mechanical energy. A sort of engine that rotates the turbine is attached to a generator, and when it spins, it produces electricity or electrical energy. Oil is also be used as fuel in cars, planes, buses, and trains. Oil is u- to be Oil is also to be used as fuel in car, planes, buses, and trains. Chemical energy. Before it can be put into cars at the petrol station, crude oil has to be refined in an oil refinery to turn it into different fuel like petrol, diesel, and jet engine fuel. Oil can also be turned into various different types of plastic and chemical products. So it is an extremely valuable natural resource. When oil and gas are burned, they release carbon dioxide gas, CO2, into the atmosphere. CO2 is a greenhouse gas and contributes to the global warming. Now, the Carboniferous period before million years ago. These are tropical swamps, older rock layers. As the plants died, the remains sank to the bottom of the swampy area, making layers and layers of squashed plant material. This eventually turned into a brown, spongy material called peat. Now comes the non renewable resource, that is coal. Coal is burned for heat. Coal burned to heat water. Steam propels turbine. If there will be no steam, then it is not possible to rotate the turbine. And if there is no any rotation or the propulsion in turbine, then it is not very easily to develop the energy. And the last one is electricity. So coal is cheap and there is a lot of it. When coal is when coal are burned to release carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide into the atmosphere, contributing to global warming and acid rain. Coal can be burned for heating barbecues or for electricity in the same way as oil and gas. Now comes the pros. Pros: coal is very abundant and is a cheap energy source. Cons: when coal is burned, it releases lots of carbon dioxide, even more than oil and gas, so it is the one of the worst contributor to global warming. When coal is burned, it also releases sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide into the atmosphere, which contributes to acid rain. Coal mining is harmful to the environment. Now, here you can see the nuclear reactions. Heat is produced, then steam propels turbine, and there is a generation of electricity. So these were the basic steps. So uranium and plutonium are nuclear fuels. Nuclear fuels do not produce harmful greenhouse gases. Nuclear power is very efficient and important. Main nuclear power produces radioactive waste, which is dangerous and also be sealed in containers and buried for thousands of years. The main nuclear fuel are uranium and plutonium. These are radioactive chemical elements. Nuclear fuel are not burned to release energy. They are involved in nuclear reactions where bottom are split to release large amount of energy as heat. The rest of the process of generating electricity is then the same as in coal, oil and gas. The heat energy is used to boil water, which generate steam. This steam then spins turbine which rotate generators to produce electricity. Now pros. Nuclear fuels do not release harmful greenhouse gases. They are very efficient. A tiny amount of nuclear fuel produces a lot of energy. Then comes the cons. Nuclear power produces radioactive waste, which is very dangerous when animals, including human and plants, are exposed to large amount of radiations. It can be very easily Nuclear power produces radioactive waste which is very dangerous when animals, including human beings and plants, are exposed to large amount of radiation. It can be very harmful to other survival. Radioactive waste must be removed and disposed to form power plants. It has to be sealed in containers and buried for thousands of years until it is no longer radioactive. Nuclear power is reliable, but a lot of money has to be spent on safety, so it is expensive. Now here you can see the few of renewable resources or renewable energy, the geothermal energy, the biofuel energy, the solar energy, the wind energy, and hydroelectric energy. Non-renewable energy resource won't last forever. Once we have used up our supply of oil, gas, coal, and uranium, there will be no more because of the planet's increasing energy demands. More people want bigger TVs, better smartphones, want to fly to far away countries, etc. We need to look for different ways of producing energy, that is, sustainable energy. Renewable energy sources such as wind, solar power, wave power, and geothermal. Heat from the earth is geothermal energy, are sustainable as they will not run out and can be reused again and again. Renewable energy resources do not release harmful greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, so they are much more environmentally friendly. Generating electricity from renewable sources is much more complicated than from fossil fuels, so it requires lots of new technology which can be expensive to develop. Now, renewable resource, that is the wind. Large windmills are called wind turbines. When the wind blows, the blades move and this spins a turbine which is connected to a generator which generates electricity. Wind farms are made up of lots of wind turbines. This allows lot of electricity to be generated. Wind farms are built in windy areas. So there is a simple concept that if there's no wind, then there's no electricity. Large windmills are called wind turbines and are built to harness wind energy, that is kinetic energy. When the wind blows, the blades move and spin a turbine connected to a generator, which produces electricity. Wind turbines essentially work in an opposite way to FE. Instead of using electricity to make wind, they use wind to make electricity in order to create enough energy capable of powering thousands of homes. Energy companies build large wind farms with lots of wind turbines. They usually build these in windy places where the frequency of wind is too much. For example, in Scotland, wind farm can also be built out in the ocean where it is very windy. If there isn't any wind, then no electricity will be generated by the wind turbines. Engineers do a lot of measurements and calculations before they build wind turbines to figure out the best area to place them. The wind doesn't blow all the time, but the important thing is how much the wind blows on average. One major issue that people have with wind turbines is that they can ruin the look of the landscape. They can also be harmful to birds who might fly into them. Now, here you can see the sunlight which falls on the solar panel, through which there's a production of the heat, there's a production of the electricity. Solar energy is from sunlight. Solar energy can be used to generate heat or electricity. Solar panels filled with water are used to produce heat. Photovoltaic cells are used to turn sunlight into electricity. Solar panels can be put off building roofs. Solar panels are expensive and you need a lot of them. The, the primary source of the energy is the sun. Plants get energy from the sun for photosynthesis, and we and other animals eat the plants to gain energy. Heat from the sun also drives atmospheric circulation, which controls the wind, tides, and waves. Solar power is power generated directly from the sunlight. Basically, there are two types of solar panel, which allows us to generate either heat or electricity. Solar thermal panels are filled with water which heats up in the sunlight. The heated water is then pumped through a tank, heating the water that is connected to the taps in the house. So, solar panels called photovoltaic cells are used to turn sunlight directly into electricity. Photovoltaic cells are made from the chemical element silicon. When silicon is exposed to lots of sunlight, it generates an electrical charge. A good thing about both types of solar cell is that they can be placed on the roof of a building or home, not taking up any extra space. It is quite difficult to generate a lot of electricity using solar energy. This is because individual photovoltaic cells are expensive and they can't generate a lot of electricity. So you need thousands of them in order to generate enough electricity to power a town. So solar power can't be harnessed in places where the sunlight isn't very strong in intensity. Solar power is best in countries where sun is strong and regular, such as California. Now, renewable resource, that is the geothermal energy. Again, the geothermal energy is heat energy from the earth. Water can be pumped down into hot rocks where it is heated. Geothermal energy can be used to produce heat or electricity. Iceland is very volcanic, so use a lot of geothermal energy. Discuss that geo means earth when it is part of a world, example geography, and thermal or therm means heat. Example thermometer. Geothermal energy is heat energy from the sun. It is always warmer underground than it is at the surface. But in some areas like Ireland and New Zealand, if you dig just a few kilometers underground, it can be up to 70 degrees Celsius. Water can be pumped into these rocks through pipes. When this water comes back up to the surface, it can be used directly to heat people's homes. Or the steam can be used to generate electricity using a turbine and a generator. The only use with geothermal energy is it can only be done where the rocks are hot enough. 85% of island heating and 25% of its electricity comes from geothermal energy. Ireland is a very volcanic country, so the rocks beneath its surface are very hot. Ireland also gets a lot of rain. Much of this rain filters down the Earth's crust through cracks and pores. As it filters down, it is naturally heated, but in, it does not. But hot surroundings rocks and it then travels upwards to the surface. Sometimes this hot water explodes out as geysers. Other times it creates hot springs like Blue Lagoon. This hot water is used for heating buildings and for the purpose of generating electricity. Approximately two-thirds of island energy, heating and electricity comes from geothermal energy. Now comes the hydroelectric energy. Hydroelectric power is a way of harnessing energy from the water which is in the running condition. Hydroelectric dams trap water in reservoir. When electricity is needed, water is released and flow downward with gravity to spin a turbine. More reliable than solar and wind power. Hydroelectric dams are very expensive and can harm wildlife to greater extent. Discuss that hydro or hydro means water. When it is a part of a word example, dehydrated, hydroelectric power is therefore a way of harnessing electricity from running water. Hydroelectric dams are built to store large amount of water in reservoirs. Large man-made lakes made from flooding river valleys when electricity is needed. Water is allowed to escape through pipes in the dam. The water flows downwards under the influence of gravity and turns turbines linked to generators and generating electricity. Mountainous regions like the Scottish Highlands and North Wales are good for hydroelectric power because they are steep and have lots of rainwater. Then comes the biofuel. Biofuel are made from crops. Ideally, the biofuels should be carbon neutral, absorbs carbon dioxide as they grow and then give off carbon dioxide when they are burned. However, fossil fuels are used in the production of biofuels, for example, in making fertilizers, so they are not carbon neutral. Crops of biofuels could be used to feed people instead. Now discuss the bio means living things. When it is part of a word biology, biomass is plant and animal matter such as wood, straw, sewage, and waste food. Biomass can be burned to produce heat and electricity. Biofuels such as biodiesel and bioethanol are fuels produced from crops like rapeseed and sugarcane. They're similar to fossil fuels, but they are made from plant grown today rather than plant grow million of years ago. They can be made quickly, so they are renewable. Ideally, biofuels should be carbon neutral. This means that they absorb as much carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as they grow, as they give off when they are burned. However, at present, because fossil fuels are used in the production of biofuels, for example, in making fertilizers and in fueling farm equipments, they are not currently carbon neutral, although they do still release less carbon dioxide than burning fossil fuels directly release the amount of carbon dioxide. There are also ethical issues surrounding the use of biofuels. For example, crops that could be used to feed people are being used to provide the raw materials for biofuels instead. So, till here we have discussed all type of resources, all type of renewable and non-renewable resources in a diagrammatic way of presentation, and even through this presentation I have tried to explain you the mechanism behind using the various natural resources. The next part we will discuss in next lecture. Thank you.